Hi, Genesee Valley. I'm Josh Williams here with Fred Miner from Peregrine Safe and Ready. Fred.
Good morning, Josh.
We are up to episode 5 now.
Yeah.
And we're going on a Tuesday now because I was out of town.
Yeah. Josh, for those who don't know, ran the Marine Corps Marathon this weekend and did very well. 3 hours and 9 seconds, Josh?
3 hours flat in 9 seconds.
In 9 seconds, which is an awesome pace. As I was telling him, I would be happy to run that pace for a 5K, let alone 26 miles.
6:52 pace per mile. And those Garmin devices?
Yeah.
So I was tracking myself along the race with that. And according to my Garmin, I was going to break the 3-hour barrier by 10 seconds. And my tracking device was off. And so I didn't break it by 9 seconds, but I have to say, traveling down to D.C., awesome experience.
Really
the
good.
Marines do a phenomenal job at putting on one of the best shows on the planet. I can't even begin to tell you how spectacular it was from start to finish. When you're running a marathon, Fred, and we've talked about work, we talk about fitness a lot. It was... I've bonked and fell apart during lots of other marathons, pretty much every one I've ever run. This one was different. You're running around a lot of veterans, some of them with one leg, some of them pushing another vet with no legs.
Which is very inspiring, isn't it?
And you're alongside of these guys at mile 20, the hand wheelchair division and stuff, and it's tough to be like, oh, my knee hurts.
Right, exactly.
And we're critical of government inefficiencies and that sort of thing sometimes here. You're critical.
I'm critical.
You're critical.
Josh is kind.
Yeah, I'm
sometimes.
kind. I have to say, the DC event, the Marine Corps Marathon, is America at its finest. It shows you what we're capable of when you're on board and we're allowed to be ourselves and support our country. It really is America at its finest. I wish we had a little bit more of that, a little bit more exposure for people to see what we're capable of and the support of our military. The one part I will say is you're going through the mall, they call it like the National Mall there.
Right.
And they have this stretch where they have about 60 or 70 American flags right along right up against the road. And then they're followed by KIA in the war.
Yeah.
And you're running by them. It's just like it gets really
very
quiet.
Emotional, isn't it?
Yeah. So it was very inspiring. It was perfect weather. I did notice as of last year with the Boston Marathon, they had that bombing. I've noticed around local races increased security measures taking place. Everybody has a clear plastic bag. They had the dogs out, and you're pretty close to the Pentagon.
Mm-hmm. And in the nation's capital, of course, too, which kind of leads into what I was thinking about talking on today. In the past, we've made allusions to things happening and getting bad, and you're seeing the good and the bad in that too, Josh, because on the one hand, you see a really well-organized race and everything was safe and went well, and thank God it did. And on the other hand, look at the amount of freedom we give up when we have to live in a world with bomb-sniffing dogs and police presence all over the place, and you can only carry a clear plastic bag and some things like that. We are inconvenienced at times by these things, and other times we can be outraged by them, depending on how bad it gets. So,
what's more important to you, to have the freedom or to have the safety?
I think you need to strike a balance. I certainly, there was one of the founding fathers that said that people that are willing to trade their liberty for safety deserve neither. And you have to take that to the point of, okay, to what extreme will I go to be safe versus how much liberty am I willing to give up? We've had 200 years in this country of free travel and not relative. We've had the most open, free society that's ever existed on the face of the earth, and it's been compromised a great deal by the terrorist threat out there.
That's a pretty deep statement. I'm still chewing on that.
Well, good. That's why I throw those out there. People need to chew on those.
So the actual the freedom is and the liberty is worth losing the safe community feeling.
I think there's a point at which it certainly is. We could all walk around in straitjackets and have everything lined with barbed wire and be a whole lot safer than we are today.
Right.
But are we willing to do that? And I think what people need to do, and I have to be careful how I explain myself, think of the worst case and then work your way in rather than let yourself be gradually taken out to the worst case. You know, I have this vision in my mind of the cattle going down the chute thinking, oh, heck, they've been herded around before from feedlot to feedlot. They don't realize this one has an electric gun at the end of it, and it's the last time.
It'd be safe to say that Representative Peter King would not be a supporter of that statement. You know?
Let's just say I'm not a supporter of Rep. Peter King.
Right.
Okay.
Homeland Security, the Homeland Security Act.
Oh man, yeah. See, now we're going to go down a different road with that.
Well,
but yes,
but that sort of parallels.
Well, go back
quote,
again.
Right?
What is it that America was formed on? Okay, and you can tell that people need to read the Declaration of Independence for themselves.
Here we go.
Okay, because what we are always taught in school is it was over taxation without representation. That was one of only a number of charges that were put up by the founders.
Okay.
And the reason I bring that up today is very pertinent today because we're facing many of the same issues. Now we've got, taxation levels that are many times higher than what we fought against in the rebellion, but that wasn't the primary problem. The primary problem was that citizens weren't being treated like citizens. They were being herded around and treated like criminals. Sometimes held without trial, sometimes their houses were invaded without warrant and pretense. Those are all things that we wrote into our Bill of Rights. So when we get into things like, well, do we feel safer having the NSA listen to all our phone conversations and keep record of our emails and tweets and Twitters and everything else? Is our Facebook content just social blather, or is this something that can be used against us someday because we slipped up and sounded like we're people that the current regime wouldn't trust?
I think a lot of the issues on this is that many of us in the community think, well, why would they listen to me? Jane Doe on Center Street, living on Center Street.
I really do have an answer for that. And I have to back up just a half a step.
We were going to talk about doomsday
Let's talk
scenarios,
about this and we'll talk about them later.
All right.
The problem is where people take that, well, I have nothing to hide attitude. Well, you think you have nothing to hide, but when you look at the just ridiculous volume of laws that we're expected to follow. Now, you as a small business person and myself also, look at we're called upon to do in order to be in compliance just with the state tax code.
Right.
The way we have to record things and report things, and the violations are held over your head, and the punishment's pretty extreme in terms of the fines and things, and you can be very easily put out of business. Today, it's in the news all over the place. You switch to the national news, everybody's talking about the Affordable Health Care Act, popularly known as Obamacare. And the thing with that act is that this is the first time in history that Americans have been compelled to buy a product by the government, and then it turns around and the government, who told us, they keep quoting the president saying, if you like your doctor, you keep your doctor. You like your plan, you keep your plan. Well, that's not true at all. Already 10 million people have had their plans canceled, and they're told they have to buy much more expensive ones by government guidelines, okay? We keep getting these sort of intrusions into our lives and being told what we have to do, and we have very little freedom in that. Now, here's where I was going with that, Josh.
Thanks,
so
Fred.
we have this huge volume of laws that we're forced to comply with that even the people that make the laws admit they don't read them. Remember Nancy Pelosi saying, we've got to hurry up and pass this so we can read it and see what's in it? Thousands and thousands of pages, and I can guarantee you no one individual has read the whole thing all the way through. Now, that means that basically we are all technically in violation of something or other, right? So we're all criminals at some level, and so if the government saves all of this data on us, who's to say that at some point, if they don't like people that belong to a Tea Party, or they don't belong, maybe it'll be they don't like liberal Democrats sometime. It's on the other side of the spectrum. They've got all of this data compiled on every individual in the country. They can go back and pull it up and sift back through it and say, oh, look at this. He talked about buying this and such. Those were illegal. or how were they able to buy all this stuff on this amount of reported income? Or, he look at that. He went without his mandatory insurance for a period of time or something. They're able to find, and the thing is, other governments have always done this sort of thing. Here's the thing, that the brilliance, the genius of our founding fathers has been lost today. Instead, we want to say, oh, they were evil white slave owners. No, they were very, very intelligent, ethical men for the most part. And the slavery issue we'll talk about another time, of how that was dealt with.
All right.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, easy now.
But government, from their perspective, was a necessary evil. The two extremes for mankind are tyranny on one side and anarchy on the other.
Where do taxes fit into that?
Okay, taxes always will fit in the side of tyranny.
Right.
The power to tax is the power to destroy.
That's
and again, that's a quote from a founding father.
Yeah.
And that's how you fuel the tyranny. On the other hand, you don't want anarchy, which was really what I was going to talk about today. When you go without the rule of law in a tribal society, basically, if you want to see an example of that, go to inner city anywhere in America and watch rival drug gangs shoot it out. That's anarchy. Okay? Anarchy is the guy with the most cousins with machetes rules the day. They saw that. There was an example of that in Haiti right after the earthquake.
Wild.
Yeah, I mean, you had a breakdown of society in a society that's not well organized, and there was and you can still find this out on YouTube.
Chaos. That was absolute
Well,
chaos.
here's one that really showed it in a nutshell how it convenes. A news reporter with his camera person was down there, and they went to a kiosk and had lunch. And down there it's like a beans and rice dish that they serve hot out of a single pot.
Right.
And they asked the guy at the kiosk, how many people could you serve here? Oh, like 100, 120. There's enough for that. Okay, what would that cost? And from our way of thinking, very nominal amount of money. It was less than $100. And the guy said, tell you what, I'm going to buy you out right now. Of course, he did it on camera. He handed the guy enough money to just buy all the food he had on hand. And he said, just tell anybody here to line up and get a free lunch. And so a lot of women and children and things started lining up to get some food. As soon as the word got out, a burly-looking young man of 20, 21 years old came over, shoved his way into line, hollered to his friends, and within a matter of just a couple of minutes, all the tough guys came, shoved all the other people out of the way. And when the reporter who bought the food, tried to intercede, they threatened him. And he stood back, and they gave their last little spiel with his microphone in hand, said, boy, this didn't turn out the way I planned. Okay, that's what happens without the rule of law in a situation. You want to go back to the old Darwinian thing, the survival of the fittest, the strongest rules. On the other hand, when you have somebody who says, no, you're going to do it my way because I know what's best for everybody, you have tyranny. And that can be King George III. That could be a U.S. president that's got it in his head that he doesn't know, doesn't have to go with the rules of Congress.
He's got the support of Congress, Senate.
Or he's got enough support to get around Congress and can do what he wants to.
Right. All right, Fred. We got to cut it off here. We got.
See, we went down a totally new road, and you started it, Josh.
I did. I had a funny feeling that we were going down. I was going to, we had a brief conversation of how this conversation was going to go.
All this out of bomb-sniffing dogs in a well-run marathon.
All I had to say is bomb-sniffing dog, and I'll take a mental note of that one. So, Fred, this is the 5th episode. We're doing better every time. Moving forward, just want to go off and ask people, please share this on your Facebook page. Talk about these issues that we're talking about. Fred and I take a lot of pride and take a lot of effort in going through and making these shows, and we want to grow. And even if you think we're complete knuckleheads, let us know. You can call Fred on his phone, his home line.
Yeah.
He's taping it.
Maybe I'm going to change my number on that. But we really do want feedback.
What's the best way?
And we thrive on controversy.
Email? What's the best way to get a hold of you, Fred?
Go to my email. It's MTMAN Miner, MINER. Okay.
Mountain Man.
Miner 55.
Mountain Man Miner.
Boy, I might be in for it and have to change that at gmail.com.
All right. So for now, Mountain
like
Man.
us on Facebook. Get into the Genesee Sun. There's less controversial things here too, folks.
When you came up with Mountain Man Miner, what year did you come up with that?
Oh, it was a while ago. But I live on a pretty steep hill, and I do a lot of hiking and climbing.
Do
So
your children know that your email is
actually,
Mountain Man?
one of my sons was Mountain Runner, so I stole it from the other one's Highlander, so I stole it from them.
We gotta stop.
We got to stop now.
All right.
Like
All
us
right.
on Facebook.
Please do.
Please pass this on to your friends.
Thank you. Have a good week, folks. We'll be back Super Tuesday. Well, we'll talk election. We'll talk voting. We'll have a great episode next week. We'll be on that one on Monday. So see you Monday.
Awesome.